Hello, how are you? I am in Seoul, Korea, and it's a privilege to have this day, magnificent day. We just finished eating, and it is a joy to be here sharing Wednesday, Mark chapter 1, verse 14, 15, and 16. And it says that Jesus came to John the Baptist and was baptized. A dove came from heaven, and a voice was heard, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." Three questions come out. What was the role of Jesus in the baptism? Number two, what was the role of the Holy Spirit in Jesus' baptism? And number three, what was the role of the Father in the baptism of Jesus? I will answer. The baptism of Jesus was done to give us an example. Jesus doesn't need to be baptized. He had no sin. There's no remission. There's no uncleanliness. He never sinned. He was perfect. He did not have to be baptized. But he did it in order for you and for me to fulfill Mark 16:16. He who believes and is baptized shall be saved, but he who does not believe shall be condemned. Number two, what was the role of the Holy Spirit? It's very simple. The 70 weeks began in 457 and ended up in 34 AD when Paul went to preach to the Gentiles. But in the middle of the week, the Messiah would be cut off. That was the crucifixion of Jesus. But in the beginning of the week was the anointing of the Messiah. How did the Messiah get anointed? In the baptism. So the fulfillment of the 70 weeks predicted by Daniel through the Holy Spirit, it was the Holy Spirit who made that prediction, was fulfilled in the baptism of John the Baptist. So the dove that came from above and the person of the Holy Spirit was fulfilling the 70-week prophecy. Final question, what was the role of the Father? Well, the Father has a voice and is heard from heaven, and the Father is heard saying, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." Perhaps this is the most important part of this baptism, because sometimes we forget affirmation. Affirmation is so important, recognizing someone. Every time we have family worship, almost once a week, with Jeremy, my son, with my wife, who's behind the camera right now in Korea, we have affirmation. I affirm my son for something good he did during the day. My wife affirms my son. My wife affirms me. My son affirms my wife and me, and we go in circle. Let me ask you, why don't you do that in your family worship? Once a week. Affirmation was what God was teaching in the baptism. Can you imagine the people listening to Jesus, the 30-year-old being baptized? "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." It was a blessing for Jesus, it was a blessing for the people, and it was a blessing for me and for you. Happy Wednesday. I'll see you tomorrow, Thursday.